they don't realize the second they make one step doing something different, they're setting a new trajectory.
That's absolutely true. And it's small steps. I think sometimes we don't realize when and those of y'all that have been listening and following and all of those things, I talk a lot about the idea of self-abdication because I do believe that it's we give up our power. And that's basically what that means is we're just giving up our power. And oftentimes we think of it as giving it up to people, which is very common, but we also give our power up to things like exhaustion and overwhelm and frustration. And so a lot of those feelings, I think, sometimes become a problem. And in the context of make a choice, and that's kind of the topic for today's episode, it's about making decisions. It's about your not giving away the choice. You do have a choice. Take some action on it. And I think what happens oftentimes is it's a delaying tactic when we use those excuses. I'm just so tired. I'm just all these things have happened. All these things have gone wrong. And really it's just delaying. One of the ones that I hear a lot, and this is in particular for our professional lives, but I think it just permeates our entire lives, is it's a lack of resources. We can't make the decision. We can't take the action because it's a lack of resources. And generally, the resources that we think of are time, money, even manpower, right? I can't do all of that. And so we give up. And I'll tell you my favorite, and I've tried to teach this to so many people, and I personally will use this myself. When I find myself feeling like I don't have the resources that I need, I change the question around. And there's two questions I'll ask myself. One is, how can I do it with the resources that I have? So if I'm saying I really want to take this action, I have this big dream, I have this big goal, this big objective, but I can't afford that, what can I do with the resources that I have? If I don't have the time, if I tell myself, which that's a big myth anyway, it's really never about the time because we all have the same amount of time. Nobody gets any more time than anyone else. It's not like you can, save up an hour today and save it up and use it tomorrow. But when I feel like I don't have the time to do that, it's how can I do it with the time that I have? If I don't have the manpower to do it, how can I do it with the manpower I have? Or even just challenging myself to say, okay, if I don't have the money to do this, then the question becomes, how much money would I actually need? If I don't feel like I have the time, well, okay, how much time is actually required? Because when it's just a mystery number, it's like, I just don't have the time. I just don't have the resources. But you're never challenging yourself to say, well, what resources would actually be required to do that? And then how can I do it with the resources that I have? And that's kind of taking back control of that. That's challenging yourself to not just be a victim, not just abdicate, but rather say, okay, what action can I take? Because that we give our power away, but it's not always to other people.